A Mother's Lamentation by Inez Riley, taken from Chapter 2. Ruby placed her hand on Jerome's chest. She found great solace in his rhythmic breathing, in and out, in and out, in and out. She paced her breath with his and closed her eyes. She couldn't sleep. This was the third night in a row that she lay awake listening to the silence in the apartment. The third night that she just stared off into the darkness, feeling as if it were trying to engulf her. The third night that she needed to sync her breaths with his just so she could close her eyes and keep them closed. Still awake. The kids were full of energy and questions today, each of them demanding her time and her answers, and she gave it to them. She placed each one on her lap one at a time and advised that they could have 2 questions each. She told them that they had to be very careful to ask the most important questions, and the rest of them they could figure out on their own, just for today. It was so much fun watching their little faces scrunch up as they tried to think about what they wanted to ask. She let the older ones go first. This would give the younger ones more time to think. If I opened my arms really, really wide, would I be able to hold all the love you have for me? Wow, that's a good question, Noble. Ruby hugged her oldest child close to her. Not even when you are a big, strong man like Daddy will you be able to hold all the love that I have for you. She kissed his cheek. My love keeps growing and growing every second of every day. Soon it will be too big even for this house. All of the children's eyes grew wide. They looked around, not fully able to comprehend just how big their world was. My love for all of you will never be able to be measured. It will spill out and fall to the floor and roll out the door and into the street if you tried to hold it in your hands. You mean like water when we try to hold it when we're taking a bath? Just like that, Valor. Do you think I will be able to love that big someday? Noble asked. If you are very careful with whom you choose to love, you will. You have to hold on to your love until the right person comes along whose heart and soul are big enough to receive it and not let it spill out. Ruby asked all the children to sit down on the floor around her feet. The reason why love is meant to be stored on the inside of us is so we can always have room for it. Our souls can hold so much, way more than our hands can. This is why we embrace those we love, so we can transfer the love from ourselves to them without it ever seeping out. If I just shook your hand and told you that I loved you, it would leave room for some of it to escape and be blown away in the wind. Love is precious, right, Mama? It sure is, Grace. So be very selective when using the word. Think long and hard before saying it. You can't take it back. You are tied to it every time you use it. It's like an anchor. Ruby wanted to tell the children that people throw the term around so carelessly. Not everyone is taught how precious and binding it is. She wanted to tell them that they cannot always believe that when someone says they love you, that they don't always mean it the way that they have been taught. She wanted to, but they were still too young to understand. It was up to her to protect them and shield them from those who throw the term around without a thought or a care, those who damage the spirit of those who hear it and draw it to themselves. It was her responsibility to prepare them for it by living it out in front of them daily. Her babies were fat and healthy from her love. Their faces glistened from its ghee. They flourished under it, and Ruby would do all she could to be sure things stayed that way. None of her love for them would fall to the ground and dry up under the world's harsh conditions. This is what kept her awake tonight. The weight of her commitment was overpowering and suffocating her.